Let me ask you a question. If a rich family who donated $75 million to a university in the name of social work actually earned that money through the death of innocent people, namely through illegal and immoral bombings, assassinations, and drone strikes, which includes the deaths of children, would you consider this philanthropy? Well, that's exactly what the Chicago-based Crown family did last year. The Crown family is a multi-billion-dollar family who is deeply connected to the imperialist wars around the world, which their wealth depends upon. The fifth largest weapons-producing corporation in the world is General Dynamics, and one Crown family member is the director, James Crown. General Dynamics emerged as a modern weapons contractor during the Cold War. In 1959, Chicago industrialist Henry Crown merged his previous company, Material Service Corporation, with General Dynamics. He then became the largest shareholder in the corporation. Today, the Crown family is the 34th wealthiest family in the US and owns 10% of General Dynamics. The core of their wealth and power, and their ability to finance political campaigns and philanthropic efforts, is the money raised by selling weapons for imperialist wars, which are overwhelmingly aimed at innocent people in some of the poorest countries in the world. So let's take a look at what the Crown family actually invests in, as well as how they direct the fifth largest weapons producer in the world. The Saudi-led war in Yemen, with a coalition of 9 Arab countries, all backed by the United States, United Kingdom, France, and Canada, has been raging since early 2015. Today, in the words of the World Food Program, Yemen is the world's worst humanitarian crisis. 20 million people in Yemen are suffering from hunger and malnutrition. 2/3 of all Yemenis are hungry. Nearly half do not know when they will eat next. The rate of child malnutrition is one of the highest in the world, and now with COVID-19 looming, the virus is likely to spread faster, more widely, and with deadlier consequences than almost anywhere else in the world. General Dynamics is a major supplier of weapons to the Saudi-US war on Yemen with over $1.3 billion in contracts. Many of these weapons have been used in the war, but more shockingly, these weapons have been used in criminal acts of war, where children have been targeted. In 2018, the organization Code Pink published a report on the role of weapons contractors in Yemen. Fragments of General Dynamics' Mk-84 bombs have been found at the site of many coalition airstrikes in Yemen that human rights groups have identified as causing indiscriminate and foreseeably disproportionate loss of civilian life, and therefore to constitute violations of the laws of war. Mk-84 bomb fragments were found at the site of a March 15, 2016 attack that killed at least 97 civilians, including 25 children. Investigators found remnants of both the GBU-31 bomb, a Mk-84 bomb mated with the JDAM satellite guidance kit, and another Mk-84 with a paveway laser guidance kit. These two bombs hit a crowded market in the village of Mastaba in northwestern Yemen. The first bomb landed directly in front of some shops and a restaurant. The second struck at the entrance to the market, where it killed the wounded people trying to escape or to help the wounded. The attack prompted Human Rights Watch to call for a thorough investigation and for a suspension of weapons sales to coalition countries. In Palestine, where the oppression of Palestinians have been going on for decades and generations, General Dynamics has been a huge influence. Since the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, occupied Palestine has suffered devastating results. In the Gaza Strip, which is commonly known as the world's largest open-air prison, a blockade has been set up since 2007, preventing the movement of people, goods, and imports to the area of 141 square miles. The economic devastation from this blockade, all subject to the discretion of the Israeli occupation government and the lack of access to medicines and even clean drinking water, has caused one of the world's worst crises. General Dynamics contributes to the oppression of the Palestinian people by providing weapons to the Israeli Defense Force, or IDF. In 2007, a $65 million deal bought 3,500 bombs for the IDF from General Dynamics. In 2012, $647 million worth of General Dynamics bombs were sold to Israel. And in 2015, the U.S. State Department approved a $1.8 billion sale from General Dynamics to the IDF. A UN commission on the 2014 assault on Gaza reported on the devastation caused by those General Dynamics bombs. Israeli forces attacked the Al-Hajj family's home with one of General Dynamics' bombs at 2 a.m. on July 10, 2014. The bomb killed all 8 members of the sleeping family, including 2 children and 3 women. The bomb appeared to be a Mk-82 500-pound bomb fitted with a JDAM technology. The blast completely destroyed the Al-Hajj home and damaged 20 neighboring homes, injuring 20 other people, including 7 women and 4 children. The home was in a residential area and was not used in any military activity. Devastating lives overseas isn't enough for General Dynamics. It has increasingly been more involved with the suffering of migrants at the US-Mexico border. The corporation has deployed a variety of surveillance technologies in service with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Jingoistic language and U.S. policies that separate children from their families goes back decades. It wasn't just the Trump administration, with his publicly racist comments about Mexicans at the border, that enforced these cruel policies towards migrants. President Obama deported so many people that he earned the nickname Deporter-in-Chief. The Obama administration also began the policy of family separation, as well as child deportations and mass deportation. Under Bill Clinton, there was bipartisan support for some kind of physical barrier between Mexico and the U.S. And it isn't just Mexican migrants at the border. In recent years, migration at the southern border has largely been from Central America, especially with areas which have been devastated by U.S. imperialist interventions and structural adjustment programs. In the words of Behind Enemy Lines, an anti-imperialist organization, young migrants have been separated from their families and kept in inhumane conditions, while new barriers and increased surveillance have forced many migrants into the hands of human traffickers or to cross in physically dangerous locations. Xenophobic rhetoric and policies have generated new waves of racist vigilantes who patrol parts of the southern border on their own in cooperation with ICE and the Border Patrol, and journalists have exposed that many Border Patrol agents are part of right-wing extremist Facebook groups, sharing memes and joking about dead migrants up to and including children. General Dynamics and a few of their subsidiaries have been providing U.S. Customs and Border Protection with remote video surveillance systems across 68 sites to, quote, detect, track, identify, and classify migrants and refugees. One subsidiary, General Dynamics Information Technology, has received $4 billion from the U.S. Office of Refugee Resettlement, providing staffing and support to the detention of immigrant children. Now that we know how the Crown family is involved with the direction of General Dynamics and how they are so connected to the suffering of innocent people around the world and at home, let's talk about the Crown family's influence on U.S. politics. The Crown family has donated huge amounts of money to political campaigns and parties. It might be a no-brainer that they contribute to the Republican Party, so it might surprise you that they also donate huge amounts to Democratic Party campaigns as well, if not more. Again, James Crown contributed $150,000 to the Biden Action Fund to help him get elected. James also contributed another $106,000 to the Democratic National Committee. In addition, the Crown family contributed to the Republican Senate Problem Solvers Fund, but also the Problem Solver Republicans, as well as to Texas Republican Senator John Cornyn. When Obama was president, the Crown family were staunch supporters. Both the Crown family and Obama have roots in Chicago and have known each other for a long time. Obama, although remembered as the first black president of the United States, should really be remembered for continuing and expanding imperialist policies for the U.S. state and ruling classes. The intelligence community was largely expanded under Obama. He continued the war in Afghanistan in his first year in office with the surge in Afghanistan. He increased spending for the military budget, and he institutionalized the Bush-initiated war on terror policies, as well as involving the U.S. in the wars in Libya, Yemen, and Syria. But he also amplified military drone programs around the world, which involved drone assassinations even of American families, including children. For instance, in 2011, Obama signed off on a drone strike which killed a U.S. citizen and father in Yemen. 2 weeks later, a CIA drone strike killed his 16-year-old son. And then continuing the drone program under Trump, his 8-year-old daughter was killed by a Reaper drone operated by U.S. Navy SEAL Team 6. The Crown family were early supporters of Obama, and that relationship dates back to 1989. The Crown family contributed $128,000 to Obama's 2004 Senate race. James and his wife Paula Crown served as the Illinois fundraising chairs for Obama's 2008 presidential campaign. They also contributed another $100,000 to each of Obama's inaugurations. The Obama years were especially good for General Dynamics. The corporation locked in billions of dollars of contracts with the Department of Defense and Customs and Border Protection, as well as contracts with Saudi Arabia, one of the most repressive regimes on earth, including more contracts with Israel and Egypt. On top of all this, James Crown sat on President Obama's Intelligence Advisory Board. The connections between wealthy families, corporations, and politicians exposed the unity of the U.S. imperialist class, which depends on the destruction of poor and innocent people around the world. Now, let's quickly go over the Crown family's involvement with what some might call philanthropy. James Crown, again, who is the director of General Dynamics, but his wife Paula is an artist who has made billboards against gun violence. She also sits on the board of New York's Museum of Modern Art. The Jewish News Syndicate and the Israeli Embassy in Washington, D.C. has named Lester Crown as one of the greatest American contributors to U.S.-Israeli relations. And James's sister-in-law, Nancy Kerrigan Crown, sits on the board of the Whitney Museum of American Art. Anti-gentrification activists have coined a term for all of this: artwashing. It's the idea of using art as a cover for something much more pernicious. Philanthropy, based in the arts, helps to wash the wealth gained through human suffering under the U.S. war machine. Perhaps maybe instead of art washing, we should call the philanthropy of the Crown family crown washing. In a display of generating public opinion, James Crown also sits on the board of the Aspen Institute, a major mainstream liberal funder and think tank. The Institute's stated aim is the realization of a, quote, free, just, and equitable society. I really cannot make this stuff up. The Crown family also contributed to a variety of institutions of higher learning in an attempt to crown wash their ties to innocent deaths across the planet. $10 million to Duke University in 2014, establishing and funding the Crown Family Center for Jewish and Israeli Studies at Northwestern University, providing funds for the Crown Center for Middle East Studies at Brandeis University, and most recently contributing $75 million to the University of Chicago. These contributions are simply an illusion, a distraction that covers up the Crown family ties to the U.S. war machine and makes the institutions and the people involved in these institutions complicit with the war machine. This poses a challenge to those students, artists, and workers. Stand with the Crowns or drive them out of your institutions. To sum up, the amount of wealth the Crown family has accrued is grotesque at best. Becoming one of the wealthiest families in the country gained from the innocent lives lost around the world, all the while promoting a false consciousness of equality, peace, and social justice at home through philanthropy. The ruling class is made up of many sections, tied by 1,000 threads, involving politicians, corporations, the military, media, academia, art institutions, and wealthy families, all devoted to the common interest of death, destruction, and unearned wealth, as well as the privileges that come with it. The Crown family and General Dynamics make up only a few of these threads that expose the US war machine and the imperialist system. And all of it leads to us understanding that we, the working and poor people of the world, must unite in exposing these oppressive systems, immoral policies, and unjust institutions. Here in the US, we must break relations with the elite and instead unite in solidarity with the people at the receiving ends of the barrels of the US war machine. We must expose and embarrass these families, politicians, and corporations, educate the people of the US on their vile actions, and create a unified program of action of resistance against the US war machine and the imperialist system itself. Much of this information is based on the writings of an anti-imperialist organization, Behind Enemy Lines. Be sure to visit their website and follow them on social media. Try to get involved with them wherever and however you can. You can find more links in the description of this video. Thanks for watching the Peace Report.
I be getting busy on the weekends. I be getting busy on the weekdays. Listening to people, see what they think, and combine that with what we say. Cause I want them to play what we sing, and then sing what they wanna relay. Cause I be sipping coffee in the morning, cause revolution ain't no fucking tea party.